Telco. How are you, buddy?
What's up, man? How's it
Oh,
going?
you
Been a
know,
long time.
it's been a minute, man. I mean, by the time this airs, it'll probably be almost 2 years to the date that you were on the show last time, episode 10. If anybody's watching or listening, you can go back and check that out. Like I said, 2 years ago. Uh, the world is, I don't know, man. I wouldn't say it's in a better place. I mean, maybe it is, maybe it's not.
Different place.
We were we were supposed to do this about an hour ago. I was telling you my kid, he's got 103-degree fever. It's come down since, but it's been a stressful day. My wife was at home with both children, and now we're just kind of like crossing our fingers, hoping that's whatever he has. And we took him to get, well, my wife took him to get swabbed and to make sure he doesn't have flu, RSV, or COVID. But now we're just kind of, we didn't get results back yet, but we're just hoping that whatever he has is maybe a 24-hour thing, or we get through it and he doesn't pass it along to our 5-month-old daughter. Because if you see the news, if you watch the news at all, it was as scary as our lives were 2 years ago. As a parent, not that it's anything like, it's not that I'm saying it's different for me because I have children, but you read about the flu and RSV and COVID, and kids are having a combination of all three, and one in Wyoming, in northeastern Pennsylvania. Sadly, a child passed away from it all. So it's just, dude, it's like, how much more can we take?
Yeah, it's just like I don't even know what's scarier now. Is do you want COVID at this point? Like, would you prefer that to the flu? Do you want the flu? It's
I don't know,
impossible.
man. Yeah, it's
Stay inside.
yeah. Let's just not go anywhere. We'll lose our jobs and have no money. We'll starve to death.
Well,
All
that's
the fun
driving me
stuff.
crazy too. Yeah, everything's a Zoom call. And even now, like talking about everything being a Zoom call is like overplayed. So it's like you can't even complain about it anymore
Yeah.
without sounding boring. So I don't know what's left.
Hopefully, I mean, it's got to get better. It's got to get better. I mean, we're at
Years ago,
least we're
optimistic.
here. We're here. We have our health. I mean, we're not
That's
dead.
very true.
I'm having a beer on a Thursday night. Whatever.
Life's good. Yeah.
It could be worse. So,
Yeah. It's crazy, man. I know. 2 years ago, I was just starting off the whole music journey and no idea where it was gonna go. And
yeah. So let's talk about that. I mean, like you said, if anyone wants to listen to um the start of Telco, you can go back to episode 10 and kind of learn about all of that. I don't want to go too far back into what we've already talked about because it's been 2 years. A lot happens, but at that point, you said you quit your job on Wall Street. You said, I'm fucking done with this rat race. You gave up a lot of money because you looked around you and you saw all these colleagues who had tons of money, but they were miserable, right? And you're like, this isn't going to be me. I'm not gonna fall into that. I am going to make a push for music. So again, a lot has happened in the past 2 years. You put out a new EP, put out some singles. You've it's funny. I went back and listened to a little bit of that episode, and you were very self conscious about showing your face on social media and all that kind of stuff. Now I literally can't go
can't
on
get it.
Instagram or TikTok without seeing you. That's a
Yeah,
bad thing. There's worse things I could see. But
it changed quick.
yeah, dude, 2 years. I mean, what's been going on?
Uh man. Well, guess I would say quitting my job was the best decision I ever made. So I'm not looking back and being like, oh my gosh, I screwed up. So that was good. Um, it it's so funny. Like I think back to the last time we talked, I was trying to do like the mysterious like artwork and like not show my face. The honest truth is just it's freaking expensive. It's like if you're gonna put out pieces of art for everything that you do, you run up a tab really, really quickly. And I never realized how expensive it is to be an indie musician if you want to promote yourself properly. So pretty quickly I was like, I either pay someone for a piece of art or I just post a picture of my face. And eventually I just my spirit broke and I was like, and then the artwork didn't even get the same I could literally just I could take a picture of my face, I'll get better engagement. And then if I have like an
Right.
animator make something amazing. So that died pretty quickly along with a lot of the plans that I had at the beginning of the career. But
And
It's been
what
good.
were those? What were some of your plans that kind of, may not have come to fruition, and what pivots did you make?
Yeah, I don't looking back now, I realize I didn't really have much of a plan at all. Like I quit
That's
that
not
job
true.
only.
That's not true. I mean, we
Well,
talked a lot about like you had a plan as far as like marketing and getting your music on playlists and all that kind of stuff. Like you were hiding in your parents' house when they weren't home and making music.
yeah.
Like it was very like when you had a plan to a degree, but um
Yeah, I guess when I quit, I didn't have like I only had one song at the time and I quit just kind of being like, okay, I'm gonna go after this. And then yeah, I put together like marketing plans and stuff like that. But you know, it's like I'm trying to think of an interesting way to complain about this because it feels like it's been played out so many times. But like very quickly you realize having decent music doesn't make a difference, right? That's just
right.
like that's the bare minimum that you have to do. You have to have a song that's, halfway decent. If you have that, then that's just the very bare minimum. What you need to have on top of that is like social media presence. You need to have a budget for ads and for playlisting and all of that stuff detracts from the fun of making music, which is what most people get into. So like for me, I don't think it's any surprise like social media is not my biggest strength or like marketing is not my biggest strength. Like, for example, we had rehearsal for our show last night, and most people would say, like, you film a bunch at rehearsal and get a bunch of content, but it's like hanging out with the band. I'm like, I just want to hang out. Like, I don't want to film us hanging out, trying to synthesize a good time. So, pretty quickly, you get sucked into that world of like social media and trying to always be a content creator as opposed to just writing songs. And I found that to be way, way, way less interesting than I had hoped. Um, and there's not yet a way to really get your music out there aside from like landing sync placement in some sort of like film, TV, something like that. There's no way to get your music out there to the extent that like TikTok and Instagram can. So you're forced to play that game. And a lot of us don't play it well. And so your music kind of just sits there and you can run ads to it, but that gets expensive really, really quickly. So kind of in this place where it's like I still love making music, I love playing music, all the stuff that comes with it though. It's just I'm desperate for some other way to kind of break through.
It's interesting how you said about having practice and thinking about how you should be recording that you should be doing X, Y, and Z to have content that you can cut up into pieces and promote something like, and putting that aside and just saying, hey, like I'm just gonna enjoy the moment because I I can't tell you how many times I've thought about like I'm not one to like to film everything. I always kind of think if like I'm doing something like that, like people are gonna see me and think like, who the fuck is this guy? Who does he think he is, right? But like I also want to have like these moments, um, documented for whatever reason and also used for content. But it's a bizarre feeling, and it kind of goes to like, when I go to Knobles now, like I'll leave the phone in the car and just it's just me and my family in the park. Like back when we were kids, like there's not that distraction. So it's interesting, like how you're saying that, as a musician, as a content creator, that you kind of have to be like how you're, you see how it's important to like, you know what, not tonight. Let's just put it aside and like let's
Yeah.
enjoy each other. Let's enjoy the music. Let's practice. Let's maybe write something new or whatever it might be. Like that's a that's a cool
Well,
moment.
and if you hired like a brand strategist for your podcast, they'd come in and they'd be like, "Well, John, you got a lovely family. You should film yourself with the family because people really resonate with that." And then it's like, then you have to pull a phone out at Knobles,
Yeah.
and you got to film yourself, and you miss the good moment. And I mean, maybe I'm already like old and I just don't get it, but there's a lot of times where I'm just like, I don't want to take a picture of the thing happening. I want to be in the thing that's happening. And that's
Right.
what got me into music in the first place, being present in the music. That was the best escape from my own mind. The last thing I want to do is intermediate that with a screen. So what do you do then if you don't like that part? That's where I'm at now.
You almost have to hire somebody to like be the fly on the wall like
Yep.
where you can just do what you're doing, not have to worry about recording something yourself. Like pay somebody. Again, it's going to cost you a lot of money. I actually did it for, um, I partnered with a brewery and we created my own beer called Popko's
Yeah.
Porter, and we donated the proceeds to my high school's music program. But like I paid someone because I wanted to be part of the process, but I also wanted to have it like A, for content, and B, just a memory that, when I'm 80 years old, I could say, hey, that was a cool moment and look back on that. So I mean, I think that's probably the route to go, right? But again, it costs a lot of money.
So yeah, I mean that's the thing that I realized pretty quickly was I was like, okay, there is a route where you could kind of pay for people to help you out. And now I'm looking around, I'm like, okay, just quit my job. Like, yeah, if I don't do this myself and I have to pay for it, what am I gonna do? So I ended up going out and getting like a music career, started this whole music career in this music education company. And now I take that money, which and the contacts that I meet from that job, and then I kind of pour that back into the music. So that's been like the best route for me so far.
Can you talk about that? I didn't know that you were doing that.
Yeah, so I did an online, I did like an online program years ago that taught me how to produce. It was a company called mastering.com. And I loved the program. That was what got me to the point where I produced Say Hello, which was my first song. So when I quit my job on Wall Street, they were hiring just a couple like sales guys. I was like, okay, let's make a little money to put into ads and whatnot. And then I came into the company and I just fell in love with it, fell in love with the team and everything that was going on. And then I worked my way up to become the GM for the company. So basically run that day to day. And then I meet loads of producers every day through that job that I then leverage that network and then the money that I make from that career into my own music. So for example, like there's a guy named Damian Keys. He's a really popular like indie music kind of guru on YouTube. And I ended up meeting him through this job. And when we were out in Nashville, he came out and filmed a bunch of content for me. I got like tons of new content that he just did for me just as a favor and stuff. So it's it's a lot more aligned with what I want to do than the Wall Street trading job was. And I'm hoping that that's the angle that I can kind of come into the music industry from.
I mean, if nothing else, at least you're doing something for a living that you also enjoy.
Yeah, well, that's why I said like this is the best decision that I ever made.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you like how much I love that job compared to where I was. So,
Yeah.
yeah, even just taking the leap and going towards music has led me to someplace infinitely better already. And then on top of that, still making music, releasing music, playing shows. So, just kind of waiting for something to catch.
And 2 years ago, I think you were in Scranton. Well, I think you had gone actually, you were actually recording in Florida,
Florida.
but
Yeah.
I think you were like, that was a kind of a vacation or a getaway for the winter. But
Yep.
you had been living in Scranton and now I think you're in Nashville, right?
Yeah. So we were since then, we moved to New York City, then from New York City to Nashville, and then now we're trying to lock up a place long term in Nashville, but with like the housing market being the way that it is, it's been extremely difficult. So we're now back in Scranton for like a couple months,
Okay.
and then we're gonna go back down to Nashville hopefully. So we've moved like 5 times in the last 3 years, which has just been hectic. And I got married. That's
I was gonna
when I
say
say I got married.
yeah, you were engaged last time we spoke, and I think
Yep.
I was gonna ask if you got married since then.
Yeah, I went through
You did
everything.
it. You
Everything
did it.
stayed according to plan. Yep.
That's good.
So
That's good. I don't recommend it for everyone.
it's
I'm
work.
kidding.
It's good work. I love it.
It's yeah. I mean, when you find the right person, and it sounds like you have, and obviously I have. We've been together for almost 15 years and married for 7 of them. It's challenges, right? Relationships in general, like whether it's a boss or a coworker or a girlfriend or a wife, they're all challenging in their own way. So, but
It's
congrats.
funny. Oh, thank you. I remember when I got married, I was like, well, I used to write all my songs about like heartbreak and stuff like that. I was like, what am I gonna write? Am I gonna be too happy? Am I not gonna have to write anymore? And then pretty quickly I was like, oh, There's plenty of stuff to be depressed about. It's not hard to write
Turn on the
sad
fucking
songs.
TV, man. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, dude. There's no shortage of things to mope about. So I've done fine continuing to write.
That's good. I would like if I was ever a songwriter, I always said like I would need to write about like how I felt. And I was never in a place where I was ever like depressed or in a dark place. And I feel like songs about those things are like better than like, everything's great and butterflies and unicorns and all that kind of shit.
Yeah,
But
I agree with you. Like, I think I've thought a lot about this, which is when you're unhappy or you're sad, then there's work to do, right? Like you want to get back to being happy. When you're happy, you could just sit in that. There's nothing to do. You could just sit in being happy and because it's great. But when you're sad, there's like work that needs to be done. And I think music is a tool for a lot of people to do that work.
mhm.
And that's why I tend to resonate a lot more with like sadder music. That's why I write primarily sadder music because it's more of a tool. When I'm happy, I don't want to write a song. Just sit in my happiness. I'm happy. I don't need to write, you know?
Yeah.
It's like when I'm sad, like, and I'm trying to work through things and I can't, that's when I'll, like write a song.
The only person that I know of that's done a great job creating happy songs or at least continuing to write songs in a happy place is the lead singer for Blue October,
Oh, okay.
Justin Furstenfeld. He used to be in a dark place, drugs, alcohol, lost his family, lost his daughter, and he is a success story in that he turned his life around. Like one day, just realized like this is not how I want to live.
Mm,
He's sober now and he has his family and um it's almost like he's like one of those guys like when I see him and when I see him interact with his fans, it's almost like, is this real? Like, are you this like happy and like just thankful and gracious like for the life you have? Or like it's so over the top. And I think it's very genuine, but it's like almost like, how is this possible?
yeah. Yeah, because
You're too nice.
usually you see that wane after a period of time, like people have an experience that like they're like, oh, appreciate every moment.
Yeah.
And then like a week later you see them and they're back to like throwing people the finger at a
Yeah.
four-way stop sign.
Yeah, he's been doing it for like 10 years, maybe longer. I mean, I'm so happy for him. He's
Yeah.
actually a great guy. I think the minute I realized he was like a genuine dude was when I used to work at a radio station and he performed in our auditorium and or theater or whatever you want to call it. And I had my son at the time. He was like maybe 5 months old. That was like
Mhm.
April of 2018. And then I think it was that year, whatever it might be. But then I saw Justin again 6 months later, and he saw my wife and I, and the first thing he said was, "Hey, it's so great to see you guys. How is your son doing?"
Oh yeah.
Holy shit! Like, you remember that moment?
Yeah, that it's like little things like that that make you realize if someone's a person
Yeah,
or I guess sees you as a person,
yeah, it
you
was
know?
wild. I mean, he sees thousands of people every day. Like,
Yeah.
that's just wild.
Yeah,
But you're
some people are
happy.
cool.
I'm glad you're happy. Things are, things are good. Like, like you got a show
Yeah.
coming up in Scranton, but like, um, you released the EP in was it late 2021, mid 2021,
Yeah. Yep. And then released the Paris single. Um,
and that's a
I
cover,
don't.
right?
Yeah, that's a 1975 cover.
Love that band.
Yeah,
Their new
they're
album
just
is
all.
phenomenal.
Yeah, I saw them play that album on this last tour in Nashville, which was pretty sick. The
Yeah,
venue was terrible, but surprisingly, but they
that's
were great.
funny.
But
But that's been over a year now. I mean,
since the
so
EP,
yeah, right?
yeah, yeah, because oh man, I mean, we bounced around like so much in 2021, and I was just like, after the after, so I quit the job. I released the first EP, and the first EP was just like just like my introduction, right? It was just like me being like, okay, I'm gonna be a musician, and like here's my attempt at it. And then the second EP, I was like, you know, not that anybody's like watching my progression, but I was like, okay, I need to like evolve, I need to mature, I need to kind of like find my sound, and I need to like, you know, for playlisting, it has to sound a certain way, and like, and I just, and it ended up becoming this extremely stressful process that, suddenly when music went from being like the thing that I did when I wasn't doing my job that I hated to now this is the thing that I have to do in order to have some sort of future, um, it became way more stressful. And after that second EP, I was like, I need to kind of like reapproach my relationship with music because it was like it had gone to like a less healthy place. And I was finding like I would sit down to try and write something and I would get stressed. And I used to sit down to relax myself and write, to relax myself. And I was finding myself getting stressed. I was like, I got to kind of reapproach this. So I was like, I'm just going to take a couple months off, not write. And then all of a sudden, a bunch of stuff started kind of just falling out. And then now I have like a couple new songs that are like on the way, but more of a 2023 thing, I guess.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's funny how sometimes you got to take a step back from what you're doing because you're so immersed in it, and you almost can't see what they call it, the forest through the trees. So it's good to
Mhm.
recognize that and kind of take a step back and say, okay, let's like reevaluate this.
Well, yeah, because 2 years ago when we first talked and I was like releasing my first stuff, you had this idea that it was just gonna be like a straight line trajectory. I was just like, I'm gonna take the money that I made, I'm gonna put it into ads, it's gonna go like this. And I remember I landed like my first Spotify editorial playlist. And I was like, okay, cool. Like I made it. It's like record labels are gonna come calling. And I was like, just went right back down to, and then once you hit that point, you're like, okay, I need to find something sustainable here that's like I'm gonna enjoy.
Yeah.
And I'm still kind of trying to figure out what that is.
Did you ever like think about giving up?
Um, y- it's not so much giving up as much as it is whatever it's gonna be, it's gonna be. And I had to kind of like make my peace with that. Like the reason I quit my job wasn't to make it as an artist. It was to say, when I'm 90 years old and I look back, I gave it like a proper shot. So as long as I feel like I'm doing that, then I'm okay saying like it will be whatever it's gonna be. Maybe that means that, I play a couple shows, some people know my music and that's as far as it goes. In which case, great. I didn't want to not do it because I was afraid to do it, you know?
Yeah.
Um, but it's hard to let the dream like vision kind of die because when you're in the office job you're picturing what it's gonna be like. You have this crazy trajectory, you're gonna play shows and Madison Square, and then it's like, okay, maybe you don't ever get there and that's okay, but it is hard to like let that die.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like from the day job you have, like it kind of like you have opportunities within there to, meet somebody or moving to Nashville and kind of be better connected in that kind of scene and you know, uh, that life. Like those are good steps.
Yeah, it's just like lottery tickets. It's like you got to just buy as many lottery tickets as you can and maybe one of them's gonna hit. The way that I'm kind of like viewing it right now is like potential energy. It's like if I continue to make good music and I put it out there and I try my hardest to promote it, then it maybe eventually something will catch. And I have enough things out there and enough of a network now that like, you know, something might click. And I don't know when that's going to be. So I'm not like sitting around like hyper focused on it. It's just sort of like I'm just going to make it. I'm going to enjoy the process. And then if something clicks, it clicks. And if it doesn't, then I did what I could do.
It's part of like the excitement to a degree, right? Like, I mean, I don't want to relate this podcast to you as a musician.
Well, that's very
Because
similar.
well, I feel like I love doing this. I'm committed to it. I do it, every week, week in, week out. So I'm definitely like dedicated, right? But like, it's not paying my bills. It's not anything like that. But I feel like I'm always like possibly one step away from like talking to the right person or interviewing the right person or someone seeing an interview that I've done and that taking me to a different level. Like you never know, right?
Yeah, and I relate to you a lot on this because I remember when you launched your podcast, it wasn't like you were like every other guy in 2020 who was like, I'm gonna start a podcast. It was like you were making a legitimate push at it, right? Like you got your branding in place, you had your strategy in place, you were consistent, you did it week in, week out, right? And that's like it was noticeably different than somebody else who just bought a USB mic and was going to be like, "Hey, me and my friends are funny. We're going to talk for like 2 hours,
Yeah.
and like throw it up on Spotify, and then they stop after like 2 weeks or whatever." Um, and that's how I felt about it. I was like, if I'm gonna do it right, and that's what we talked about last time, which was
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna run ads, and I'm gonna like try and break. I love Scranton, but I want to kind of try and find my footing in different demographics, and it's hard, but here we both are 2 years later still doing it, and now we have enough of like a portfolio and a background to go, hey, like we're in the position to get lucky, you know.
Yeah. And that's half the battle sometimes, right? Sometimes there's a saying it's better to be lucky than good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, or you got to make the money a lottery ticket or whatever, something
Yeah.
like that. You got to work hard to get in the position to be lucky.
And there's something like there's a saying. I wish I remembered it. I've been thinking about the saying a lot, and I failed to look it up. But it's something like preparation is. Oh shit! I don't even want to try and remember it 'cause I'm gonna fuck it
Oh,
up
is it like
bad.
the 90% perspiration, 5%? That one?
No, something like. Damn it! It's a good quote. But it's
Head
along the lines
second.
of like just being prepared when your number's called, your name's called. Like
Yeah.
do the work. Be ready for when that moment comes because you don't know if it's going to come, but if it does, you're ready.
hmm Yeah, like I have enough songs that I could play a show, Like I have enough songs that I could like submit for sync placement or, for record label. Like, you know, you have to do so much legwork now. Back in the days, people used to take flyers on bands that they liked and they would just pour a bunch of money and they'd be, lock them in a room and just be like, make an album. But nowadays, you lock yourself in the room, you have to make the entire album, you have to promote the entire album, and then right before it's about to pop off, maybe someone steps in and throws some money your way. So you have to do 99% of the work nowadays,
Yeah, and I
which is
think you
fun.
did it. You created a video too. As part of that
Mm.
EP. I feel like you were in the woods somewhere.
Mm.
Is that
Oh
you?
yeah. Oh dude. Yeah, this is height of the NFT bubble. I guess I was literally the top. I was the top of the telco performance was the top of the NFT bubble. But this is goes to how I was trying to get creative about marketing myself was I approached this NFT project, which had like 60,000 people in their community. And I went to the guys who were running it and I was like, hey, I'll play a free live stream for your community just to build hype for your project. And he was like, great, like done, like let's do it. And so we went out into the forest and we like themed it around their NFT project and we recorded like 4 songs and he gave us each one of their NFTs each, which at the time were like $1,200 each. So it was like the best paying gig I've ever had. I did hold that NFT though, which is probably like $0 now, but like and then they pushed it out to all 60,000 people or whatever in their community and stuff like that. So I'm like constantly like, how can I just think of a different angle to come at it
Yeah,
from, aside from just trying to lip sync my song in a car on TikTok because
right.
I just can't bring myself to do it.
I can't figure out like TikTok. Like I use TikTok because it's funny. Well, I consume TikTok because it's funny. Like I don't create stuff because I don't think I'm funny, and I just don't have the time or the talent to piece things together. Actually, I was going to do Carl Hall. Unfortunately, I'm not sure if you're familiar with that venue, Carl Hall in Wilkes-Barre. Last weekend, December 12th, I think it was December 10th was their last show. Great lineup. I was gonna do like this like kind of like tribute. I got out of my car and I was like, oh, tonight's the last show at Carl Hall. It's gonna be great. Thank you, AJ. Thank you, Mary, for creating the space for all these like local musicians to have a place to call their own and a place to perform and all that kind of shit, right? So then I like did that and then a video walking up to the outside sign. And then I did a video like walking down the steps into the venue. And then I did a video like going into um like the venue, like the doors where like the band is actually playing on and the crowd and everything. I don't know what to do it the next day to kind of piece together. I'm like, this is fucking garbage.
Yeah, yeah, I
This
can
is
imagine.
such trash. I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, I don't know how to mute the fucking background noise so that doesn't like. So I was trying to like speed up certain parts, which I could figure that out, but like it would have that quick like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't know.
It's if I ever make it, it's not going to be me that's doing my socials because
Yeah,
I have the same problem. I've tried like a couple, and it's just like this is pathetic. Like I'll put it out and I'll just be like, this is just pathetic. And so what I've resorted to now, which you probably see on my Instagram stories the last couple days, is I'm like I'm just gonna make stuff that I find funny. And if I all I'm gonna do is lose followers, I was like, but I'm just gonna make stuff that I find funny. So I like spent $30 on some like AI like avatar who will say whatever you type in. And I'm just like running ads to my show via those AI avatars and then
no
just say
shit.
dumb stuff. And I was like, you know what? I think it's hilarious. I lose followers every time I post them. So it clearly doesn't resonate. But you know what? I'm over
Is
trying
it
to guess.
is it this telco testimonial?
Yeah, yeah. He's an AI guy
Yeah, this
talking
is
about how telco saved his life, how my music saved his life.
his songs are not bad. What the
Yeah.
fuck is a telco? I mean, I can't even hear it. I'm just looking at it. I'm laughing inside.
See, that's what I'm doing. I'm like not gonna try and chase. I'm just gonna make stuff I find funny and people get it, they get it.
One time,
Here.
he showed up to a pep rally with his pet ferret on a leash and said it was our school mascot. If I knew he had the voice of an angel, I wouldn't have given him such a hard time. I guess I'm just insecure.
Yeah, that's my high school bully. I created an AI avatar of my high school bully.
That's funny. That's funny.
It's weird. Yeah,
Telco
it's
saved
it's
my
like
life.
shouldn't
After my wife left me and my dogs moved out, I felt pretty lost. That's when I first heard -9 by Telco. When he said it's not as bad as it seems to be, it really made me think. It really isn't as bad as it seems to be. He's right. My gosh, he's right. Thank you, Telco. I
see?
went to high school with Telco.
See? I've outsourced my ads.
I love it. I think it's funny. It's creative.
What am I gonna do? I'm gonna go sit in my car and lip sync my song and pretend to cry at my own music. What can I don't know what to do.
Right? What do you do, especially as a man, right? I mean, we're not attractive, It's like we've got nothing going for us. I mean, women
Dude,
can literally just like pull their shirt down a little bit and show like just a little bit of cleavage and
if I
10,000
show my
views.
they're like
Yeah, that's what you should do. Get a hot
troll.
girl.
I get my wife to just be in telco.
There you go. Whatever you want to do, whatever
There's
works.
something morally bankrupt about using my wife to. It's fine. I've reached that point.
Like, honey, listen, it's
Yeah.
it's it's this or nothing. Like we
Want to live the good life. This is what we have
yeah,
to do.
if you want telco to be something, we need to do this.
But it's even like that's the thing too, though, is that I'm getting sick of complaining about it because it's like become boring to be like the person who's like, oh, I'm not good at social media. Like what am I gonna do? Like that's even boring to do. So you don't even have that avenue now. So it's like, where do
Yeah,
you go?
it's the self-loathing thing kind of,
Well, I mean, it's so
gets
weird.
old.
You've got TikTok, which is which is like average view time is like 4 seconds. And then you've got Joe Rogan podcast, biggest podcast in the world, which is 3.5 hour long
Right.
form conversation. It's like, where are we as a society? Like, what niche it's so, how do you approach that? You know what I mean? Like, they won't listen to a whole album,
Right.
but 3.5 hour podcasts are like the number one way of like consuming podcasts. At the same time, everyone can't be asked to stay on one TikTok for more than 2 seconds. So it's like, it's
I don't know, man.
impossible.
Part of me is happy that like I don't have a career, uh, that's beholden of living on those platforms, and I can just use it to kind of laugh and waste my life away with. But in the same sense, I wish I was able to utilize it for what I do.
Well, we talked about this last time, which was like,
Did we?
everybody kind of complains about how Spotify doesn't pay
Sure.
anybody anything. But it's like, if Spotify didn't exist, telco wouldn't exist. Because nobody was going to be like, see the guy in the Patagonia sweater who's a trader who makes music in his bedroom, like, let's sign him. But it never would have happened. Right?
Right.
My music never would have seen the light of day unless it was for like Spotify or something like that. And lowering the barrier of entry to things like this. And anytime you lower the barrier of entry, you're just going to have tons more competition. So it's like, it comes with the territory, and I wouldn't be able to release my music if it weren't for the era that we're living in. So in that way, I'm thankful, but it would have been nice to just be an old, talented musician who got signed by a record label and had them do all the work,
Yeah. Just like
and just
record a
have music.
CD and just push that and
Mm-hmm.
sell it to the back of your trunk.
Well, yeah, because nowadays you got to produce it yourself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you have to play the instrument, you have to sing, you have to produce it yourself, you have to mix it yourself, you have to master it yourself, you have to distribute it, you have to market it, and then maybe somebody, if all that goes well, somebody like maybe is slightly interested. Back in the day, like, you could have been just a freak guitarist player or guitarist, and like someone would sign you just off your talent.
Yeah.
But again, if that were the case, I would have gotten nowhere. So
Yeah.
I'd rather be in this environment than on the old one.
Yeah. I mean, it's good, right? I always say the internet's a blessing and a curse. I think I may have said that last time too. I stick by that. You know,
Yeah.
it's a fucking dumpster, but I mean, what are we gonna do? Go outside? Come on.
Yeah, right. You can't. It's sickness is out there. Are you still enjoying it?
Enjoying what?
All the podcasts?
Yeah, man. I really do. It gets to a point sometimes where I think I made a post about this a few months ago, maybe back in May. There's times where like I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, I'm 40 years old. Like, now granted, I do this at night when my kids are sleeping, and so I make sure that I'm present in my life with my wife and my kids and that kind of stuff. But like, what am I doing? Like, what's the end game with this? Like, what are you really doing? And there's times where like 99%, like you let those voices in and they're telling you to quit, they're telling you to quit. But then there's that 1% that like tells you not to.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully that's louder than the 99%. But there's times where I'm like, I don't want to like have a podcast tonight. I don't want to do it. But then when I'm doing it, I'm like, this is fucking great. I love doing this. And then there's moments where you get to, I've been fortunate where I've interviewed Everclear and Cold and bands like the Verve Pipe, bands I fucking like, knew in junior high that I loved. Like, if 15-year-old John knew that one day 39-year-old John or 40-year-old John would interview that person, like, that'd be fucking mind-blowing, right? So
Yeah.
it's kind of cool. And I've been able to do a lot of cool stuff. Like I mentioned the beer thing earlier. Creating the platform to do good things and help people and things like that. It's very important to me, and I find a lot of joy in it. I do. But I don't know. It's like, how do I take it to the next level. Like, I have some sponsors that, contribute financially to a degree. Some of it's like a handshake and a pat on the back type scenario. But it's like, do I really do I want to take this to the next level? Like, what does that look like? Do I need, obviously I need more money. I would love to have a studio where I can invite guests in. But I mean, a lot of these, you said you're in Scranton now?
Yeah.
So we could have done this in person, right? And a lot of mine could be done in person, but there's often times where I'm interviewing people from all over the place. So this format's good too. So it's like I really have to figure out like what I want this to be and where I want to go. And I think that's my plan for 2023 is to kind of give it a better effort, so to
Mhm.
speak. I don't know what that looks like still. Um, I don't know. It's
A lot
weird.
of it, what I've noticed, and I see this a lot too with the education company that I run now, is like it's a balance between strategy and execution. Like sometimes you have to have like you got to spend time thinking about the vision, like where am I going? But 90% of the time you focus on just doing the thing over and over and over again. And what happens is if you just do it for a year or 2 years or 3 years, 90% of the people you were competing with are gone by that point because they've
Yeah.
given up. Right. So it's like for every, time that you almost quit, but you don't, some other podcaster does. And most people don't make it past 3 weeks or 4 weeks or something like
Right.
that. So most people release, one EP or 2 EPs and then they quit or whatever. So it's like there's just merit in just continuing to go that I've noticed because
Yeah.
it's very rare that you keep going and like you're get less listeners,
Right.
It's like it'll build. It's just how
Sure.
long are you willing to go?
Yeah. And maybe this is all it is. Maybe it's just like, I started because I wanted to continue being part of the local, music scene, which I think I've been able to do, right? Which has been a ton of fun. But I never wanted to limit it to just that because I feel like, if you have bigger names on there, it brings more ears to the podcast in general. And maybe that person that was a huge fan of Cold, they see Telco and say, well, who the hell is this guy? And then they turn it on and they find out about Telco, and now Telco's their, new favorite band or whatever it might be. So it's like it's a cool thing. It's a lot of it's not work, right? Like we're not working. Like all I'm giving up is my time, having conversations. I spent my entire career in, media and sales and shit like that, talking to people. I like doing it. But
I think
I don't know.
the hardest thing for me, what it feels like, is that you're beholden to something that you can't like touch, like the algorithm.
Yeah.
Like, and again, it's boring to kind of complain about this stuff, but in a sense, like back in the day, if you wanted to get your CD on radio, there was a guy who physically, he was going to take that disc and play it. And you could get that guy that disc. If you stood out front of the radio station and the second he came out of his car, you said, "Hey man, you got to play that." Like there was at least somebody that you could get a hold of.
Right.
Nowadays, it's like not only do you just like have to record content and post it into the ether, but it's like if something goes wrong, or your stuff's not getting pushed out, or you're stuck at 0 views or whatever, you can't even reach somebody like on the customer service side, let alone the person who's gonna like make or
Yeah.
break your music career. So like that's the thing that is most frustrating for me is you go, I want to take it to the next level, but I don't really know what the formula is. We all just take guesses about what the algorithm's going to like, and you try your best to like create something to feed that. And we have no idea. So it's like you're just waiting for something to catch, which is frustrating.
Yeah. And then I feel like if you figure it out, finally they'll change it again. And it's like, well, what the hell?
Well,
Like,
yeah, and then hopefully you got to have a fan base. Like hopefully you got the data from that
yeah.
fan base when it does pop off. That was the mistake I made when I first launched this, was I had this like huge influx of listeners right at the very beginning, and then I didn't get any of their information myself. I didn't have a mailing list. I didn't have them, signing up for my newsletter and stuff. So it's like in they came, out they went. Spotify got all the data. I don't get that. And now it's like I can never re-engage those people.
That's another thing too. It's like I feel like to me, to a degree, like mailing list. That's like outdated. But is it? I don't. Maybe it's not. It's like how do you? Jeez, sorry, have this open for you.
Depends on what you're using it for.
Yeah, I mean, I guess right. I don't know. It's just
It's
like
also like if you have something to sell eventually at some point, the mailing lists are great. Like
sure,
for the business like that work in, like we use our mailing list all the time. Or if telco is going to sell merch, then you want those customers' data. Otherwise, I have to go to Instagram and pay for
right,
an ad. I can't even reach my own followers on Instagram. Forget new people. I post something and you can't even reach 10% of your own followers anymore. So it's like, I've got, 2,100 followers on Instagram. If I post something, maybe like 100 people see it, 150 people.
yeah,
Why do I have these followers in the first place? So now you got to pay to reach your own followers.
right.
It's just
If you
becoming
need
hard.
merch, I know a guy.
Dude, I know. I just think I was actually thinking about hitting you up for the show coming up, and I was like, I wonder if it's too tight of a timeline. Plus,
No,
I always buy more. No,
no, let's do it.
I
This
always
is a
buy
time.
more merch, and then I always am like, oh, we'll sell it, and then it's like my mom's friend will be like,
I know that's the biggest. It's
me
the
too.
hardest thing about having merch, right? I feel bad for bands because like it's an investment, right? You buy these
Mhm.
shirts and you hope that there's enough people who like your music and come to the show and buy it, right? So you like maybe you make let's say you bought it for $10 and you're selling it for 15 or $20, like you're kind of getting a return on the investment that you can kind of use to take and put into Facebook ads or put into Instagram ads or whatever it might be. But then, like, the show comes and you play, and maybe you sell 5 shirts, and maybe you bought 100 of them, and now you're like, okay, now I have 95 shirts. What the fuck am I gonna do with it? There's definitely a challenge there.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I've made that mistake.
Yeah, right. It's like it's tough. Um,
My first EP, I bought vinyl. I
mm,
look back and I'm like, I was like, where did I think this was gonna go? Like,
yeah.
what did I think I was releasing into the world that I was just gonna like sell a bunch of vinyl? I was like, it's crazy.
Well, I think,
But I spent so much.
yeah. Well, I
It's just
think for
gone.
you, it's one of those things like it's cooler for you to say,
Yeah.
hey, I made a record and I put it out on vinyl like this. Like, it's a selfish thing, whether you know it or not, because like I did the same thing. I work for a t-shirt company. I got a bunch of merch made. I'm actually wearing my own shit right now.
Yeah, I wear mine all the time.
Well, people like bust my balls too, like, why are you wearing your own shirt? I'm like, well, if I don't promote myself, who is going to?
Yeah, exactly.
But
Use
like,
that
I
line.
mean, I bought a bunch of stuff, and I'm almost afraid to even try selling it because I feel like I'm peddling like garbage almost. Like, I mean, I love what I do. Like, I think the shirt's a clever shirt because it's a ripoff of Buffalo Trace whiskey. But my stupid face is on it. Like, I'm like, I feel weird about that. I feel like, and who wants to buy a shirt for a podcast that no one knows about, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
and I feel like if I try to present it, people are buying it because they feel bad for me. Like, oh, we better fucking buy Popko's shirt because he's fucking like I don't know, it's
Dude,
weird.
I'll take it. If people feel bad and buy my merch, I will happily take that
It's
at this
just so
point.
weird.
But
And like,
it's not. It's a mindset thing, man. You got genuine fans out there that like what you're doing and appreciate what you're doing. And the people that do buy it to support you, it's like
yeah,
most people who buy merch don't do it because they want the merch. They do it to support the person. And so
yeah,
like you would happily do that for someone else,
yeah. I
Let
have.
somebody you.
Funny story. This is probably the coolest merch story that I have, and I probably that I'll ever have. I um I wore my shirt to my vasectomy, and the nurse who was like prepping me, like she's like giving me, here's the bag that you put all your clothes in, blah blah blah. I put your shoes in here, put this in here, blah blah. She's like, the Popko Project. What is that? She's like, oh, podcast. And I said, yeah, it's a podcast. I interview bands. I've interviewed XYZ. She's like, that's really cool. My daughter loves music. She said, do you have some for sale? And I said, yeah. I mean, I have them at home. I don't have them with me. I didn't bring it to my vasectomy.
Yeah.
And she's like, can I give you money? And you can mail me one for my daughter. I'm like, sure. I'm like, do you have Venmo? I can, like you can just Venmo me if you want to.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, yeah, I have that, but no, I'll just give you cash. Should I give it to your wife? Should I give it to you? I'm like, stand there, kind of like, well, I don't really have anywhere to put it except for this bag you just gave me, and I'll take that. I'll just give it to your wife. And she fucking gave me money for a fucking t-shirt. She, on the honor system, she figured that she
Yeah. Trust the
figured
guy
that
she's about to buy.
yeah, it was, and I'm getting a vasectomy and I'm selling a fucking t-shirt.
And you made money.
Yeah, I made $15.
Dude, that's like I had like not very I wasn't getting a vasectomy, but similar sort of experience, which was like I played my first show out in New York City, and of course it was like my family and like my friends showed up, and it was sick. Like I loved it. It was great. There's one guy. Shout out to Marlon. He's listening. One guy, pure fan, didn't know him, never met him, just loved my music, showed up to the concert, front row, like singing all the words to the songs, and I had no clue who he was. And I was like, just to have one person that was doing that was just like a pure fan was like cool enough. And I
Yeah.
was like, okay, cool. Like, and I'll just keep doing it. And then one fan will be two, and then you'll have 5 nurses hitting you up for merch,
Well, I mean,
and you're gonna be like, what's going on here?
well, if I didn't wear my own shirt that day to my vasectomy, I would not have
Dude, when
made
you
money.
get it reversed,
No,
when you get the
no,
snip snap,
no.
it's your best merch selling opportunity.
Can I get the same nurse so I can have
Yeah.
a repeat sale?
A couple more, yeah. Wear your new line of merch to the procedure.
I forget her name, but yeah, she put it in an envelope. I said, put your cell phone number on there, just like God forbid something goes wrong, I can call you if I need to. I should have texted her to see if she got the shirt to send to her daughter. I'm assuming she did. I mean, I sent it out, but that was a wild.
Yeah.
That was one of the most bizarre scenarios. So yeah, to the guy who asked me why I wear my own shirt, there you go.
That's why. Sale out of it.
Yeah, merch
That's
is
those
tough.
things.
Merch is tough.
Yeah.
And there's different things you can do, right? You can, there's a lot of online sources where you can essentially create your own stores, and we can do that for you at Axelrad too if you want to. But where you can, have like images where people can buy them, and maybe the store's open for X amount of weeks, and then the store closes, and we print them all at the same time, so there's no concern for, backstock and shit
Right.
like that. So there's options out there.
Yeah. That was kind of like my approach coming into music, was like, it's gonna be a money losing venture for me, so I might as well accept that and find a career that supports it. And maybe it intersects at some point where I actually start making more money than I'm losing, but we're like very much in the red right now. But it takes one thing. It'll take one thing.
That's what I always say,
that's it.
man. I've said it before on this podcast, and maybe not with you, but just like it only takes one.
Mhm.
It takes one person that has the power to, like, if they heard telco and they heard your music, and they said, I want to take that and push it, and I have the power to do that. Just it takes one person to hear this or see this and share it to a million fans or whatever it might be. Like, it only takes one.
Yeah.
Which is
Yeah.
which is so cool. That's what kind of keeps me going too. It's like you never know.
Yeah, it's like, make sure you're always having the best conversations, your best guests. Like for me, it's like I always want my next song to be my best song. And like the two that I have now, I'm like, cool, this is like my best stuff. And it's like you just keep doing that, and then you wait for all of that potential energy that you're putting into the world to eventually turn into some kinetic energy at some point. And who knows, but I mean, it's been 2 years and
Well, let me ask you a
just
question.
jaded, but happy.
Let me ask you a question. I feel
Mhm.
like, the old school approach of playing shows is kind of like, yeah, you can do ads on Facebook and reach thousands of people. Yeah, you can, do the same on Instagram, thousands of people. What are you thinking about playing shows? Like, and I know, like, when you started, it was during a pandemic or right before it, or whatever it might be. And like now it's like we're out of it. Like things are still like open, but things are still like maybe you can still get it. Who knows? But like, is there merit in still, performance shows? And I feel like you haven't done a lot of shows.
Yeah.
Is that something that you're kind of you know, exploring?
Yeah. The I mean, the honest truth was it was born during the pandemic where it was like shows were off the table. And then so that was like the first layer. The second layer is I'm a solo project. And anybody who knows me, I'm like not an instrumentalist. I can barely play piano. That's it. That's why I write all my songs on piano. And then I like always work with musicians that are far more talented than me. So it was like, okay, how do I play shows? I need a band that's going to be able and willing to play my music. Um, and that was like the second thing. So I had to like get a band together. Eventually we did that. We played our first show in New York City, and then we were moving to Nashville, and it was like I got to start all over again. So that's part of it. I'm definitely insecure about putting a band together because I don't think I view myself as a musician, really. Like, because I came from this outsider world, I just always have this imposter syndrome where I'm always really self-conscious to like ask people to play my music. Um, and so like even in Nashville, I ran into that where I'm like, you know, approaching people and being like, "Oh, you're a musician, I'm a musician, like we should, link up and collaborate or something." I'm like, it's just not in my nature, and I know that's like an insecurity thing. I'm trying to get over that. So the easiest way to do that is here back home where I know people and they know me, and like people are stoked to play. Like, got an amazing band for the show coming up. It's
Do you
just
have a
like
show coming up? No way.
it's just a little plug.
We're gonna promote a
Uh
show on this? What? Oh,
yeah, but it's like that's what I would love to be doing. That's what got me into music was I loved to play music, and I love to sing, and I love to sing my own songs and stuff. So like if I could play shows all the time, but it's just logistically hard because then even if you can get a band that's willing to play, it's like, what am I going to do? Play a show in Pittsburgh for like, how do I find fans in Pittsburgh? Maybe it's just too much moping. Probably it's just got to be more action.
to a degree, I think maybe, and not to be harsh. It's like I think it's like one of those things where I understand it's an insecurity that you have, but like I think you just got to do it. I mean, I think this show you have come up on January 6th is a great opportunity. I mean, granted, you're cherry picking people that you know to have this as part of your band for the show. I want you to talk about the show and who you have playing with you, but like that's kind of like the test run. Like you're probably hesitant to even ask those guys or girl. I'm
Mhm.
not sure who they are yet, but when you make when you plant your roots in Nashville in a few months or whatever it might be, like I think you got to put yourself out there. I mean,
Yeah.
I I I believe in you and your music, and I feel like you reach the right people and kind of say, hey, this is what I've got going on. Like I need a guitarist or I need a drummer or whatever it might be. I don't think it's going to be hard to find, especially in
Yeah.
that atmosphere and that city. Um, and I understand it's like it's weird, and I understand it's like awkward, right? But
Mhm.
that's the only way you're going to do it.
Yeah.
in my opinion. And what the fuck do I know? I know nothing.
No,
But like,
dude, you-
I feel like
it,
if you got a band and you started playing out once a week, twice a week, whatever it might be, that's going to gain you a bigger following on social media as well. Like then, posting up AI videos. I mean, they're
yeah, right.
funny, but I mean
No,
that at that point you're gaining an audience, and then you're creating content for them, and they
yeah,
laugh and they tell their friends or whatever it might be. Like, dude, I mean, I think you're very talented. Like, and I think like you need to understand that and just fucking do it.
yeah. No, I appreciate that. And you're spot on. And that's what I want to do in 2023 is like, I've gone this far. I quit my job for this. It's like the last thing that I can let stand in the way is like a dumb mindset thing. And so it's like whether I'm in Nashville, whether I'm here, whether I'm in New York, whatever, it's like I gotta just go. That's like the next thing I gotta just do. And it's like whatever happens, happens. But I put in way too much work to let a mindset thing kind of just
For
stand in the
sure.
way of it. You
And
know?
what's the worst that could happen?
Yeah. Right.
What's the worst that can happen?
Right.
You're right back where you are right now.
Yeah.
What is it? It's not a terrible place, but that's like if
That's
I
the
do
floor.
this, if I do this, I get here. If I
Mhm.
don't do this, I stay here, like, which is fine, right? But like,
Just have this, you always have this like idea that you have to be like this shredder virtuoso, like instrumentalist. But like, I wrote all these songs, I produced them, like, it's just a different skill set. And I've always kind of hid from that as opposed to embracing it. And that's why I gotta move towards in 2023 is like I did the work, I have the songs, I've had some traction on them, I've played some shows. 2023, it's like forget the whole insecurity, imposter syndrome, and just be like, I'm a musician, whether you like it or not, and I'm just gonna put my stuff out there.
and I mean, what was I gonna say? You said it. You have everything produced. Like you're not a fly by night kind of guy. Like you
Yeah.
have all this catalog of material. You can say, this is what I've done. Like, you're not some
Yeah.
stoner saying, hey man, let's start a band. It'd be cool. We can get
Yeah.
some chicks, right? Like, it's like, no, here's what I'm doing. Here's what I want to take this and take it to the next level. Like, let's go on this journey together.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like when we first talked last time, I was just starting. And so it would have been a lot like that. It would have been like, hey man, I'm putting a band together. It's gonna be sick. And people would have been like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
But now it's like, okay, I'm not joking around,
it's legit.
and that's what I want to find people who are like, hey, like I want to build this thing. And if I can get a couple folks on board for that, it's like I feel good about where we are. Yeah.
All you gotta do is ask. I'm telling you.
Right.
I'm telling you.
Dude, how
I'm
easy it was for
confident.
this show.
What's
It's just
that?
like for this show coming up, it's just like it just asked and
Yeah,
everybody was like,
dude.
oh, of course.
Yeah. So let's talk about it. January
Yeah.
6th. You know what
Yes.
sucks? You guys, my kid's birthday party that day. His birthday is
Oh,
December 27th. So we typically have his birthday after the holidays and after New Year's and shit like that. So family can kind of
yeah.
come and not have to worry about the whole hustle and bustle. So I'm hoping to be able to like do that, do the birthday thing, come home, put the kids to bed, and like I'm going to the show.
Push the
Um,
set off.
what's that?
I'll push the set off. We'll delay. I'll show
Yeah,
up later.
yeah. Like so, I'm like I've been dying to see you play. You've hinted at who you have as bandmates for the show. I want to talk about that. James Barrett, who is one of my favorite musicians from northeastern Pennsylvania, is on that too. Like,
Yeah.
and if it's at the Scranton Cultural Center, correct?
Yep.
In the Shopland
Shopping.
Hall.
Yeah.
He had his CD release party there in I think was it 2021? Had to have been
Yeah.
September, I think it was last year. It's a series of mostly nothing. That was that show was incredible. Um, between the band he has and just his stage presence and it's the songs are just I can't speak highly enough of James Barrett, and I always shout his name from the rooftops when I'm in the position to do so. And with him and you there, it's going to be an awesome show. So tell me a little bit about that night and what we can expect.
Yeah. Yeah. I love James, and I ran into him a couple times, just obviously because we're both musicians in the area. And I was like, well, we should set something up. It would be a great show. And he's the great thing about James is that he's like very much like, we need to push the Scranton music scene. And to his credit, I feel like in my mind, I was always like, I'm gonna have to go to New York, or I'm gonna have to go to Nashville to find music scene. And James was like, here, like we're gonna bring music from out of here. And I always really respected him for that, like with the festival he set up and everything. And I was like, you know what? Like, we should just do something. We should get a show set up. So I bumped into him at a bar, and we just got to talking to him. We were like, oh, let's do it. So we got it set up. And then so I've got the guys from Modern Ties who are gonna play for me, which is another local band.
Which guys?
Which all of them.
All of them.
I recruited all of them. Yeah. So the entire Modern Ties band is playing for telco. So
Oh shit.
plus Duds, who you've had on the show,
Yeah.
Michael McDonald. So that's telco 2.0.
I
This
love
time
it.
around.
So
Which is cool because I grew up watching. I mean, I grew up like everybody's seen Modern Ties play. If you're from Scranton, you've seen them in Black Tie Stereo.
Modern Ties was Black Tie Stereo. They're just great guys, and Jesse is in James's band.
Yeah.
So he'll be doing double duty that night. That's good.
And it was cool because it was like one of those moments where I was like, Steve Murphy, obviously the guitar or the pianist for Modern Ties, like he is the virtuoso guy that I was like, oh, I got to be that. And so to like work together with him to play telco songs, like it's freaking awesome, man. So like the show's gonna be great, band's gonna be great, the lineup's great. We also have Glass Mask playing from Wilkes-Barre, which is awesome. So I'm like beyond stoked for it, and it's like the first show I've ever played here in Scranton, so get to pull in all the favors, ask all the family and friends, and it's gonna be awesome, man. I can't wait for it.
I'm pumped. Like I don't get out a lot. There's certain days that I circle on the calendar, and this is definitely one of them. What time does that start?
Jeez, I should know that. I think 8. I think 8 is when when Glass Mask goes on. Maybe Doors at 7.
This is more of a question for me. I'm sorry to put you on the spot. I'm just curious.
No, I think that's right. It's an easy Google.
Yeah. Just go like telco on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok.
Yeah.
You'll figure it out.
It's worth it. But yeah, it's gonna be fun. Got some new songs too that we're gonna play, which is exciting.
Here I got it. Doors at 7 p.m. Get your tickets now because they are $17.75.
75. Inflation.
Day of the show is $25 or $23.
Yeah, 23.
It's weird. 23. It's a weird font. So save yourself almost $5.
Yep. Get them ahead of time. Makes us happy. Now. Makes the cultural center happy.
Yeah, it's great to see the cultural center taking the show on too, because like I said, James's release party was awesome. I don't think people understand the amount of talent that this area produces, which is a shame. And I can only do so much, and James can only do so much, and you can only do so much to kind of talk about that and promote it. I wish there was a better way to get people out of their homes and to these shows, because they're it's just I can't speak highly enough about this area and the talent that's here.
Yeah, I appreciate everything that you've done for local music, because it's like there is so much talent. It's just telling people and getting people to believe it is the hard part. It's like it's a great lineup. It's gonna be an amazing show. It's like we should sell that out.
Yeah.
It's just getting people to know and to say like, I don't have to go to New York. I don't have to go to Nashville. Like I've made the mistake to find talent. Like
Yeah.
I can go a couple blocks away and have an amazing show. So yeah, hopefully word gets out, and I appreciate you doing your part to promote it, and hopefully we can pack the place and put on a great night.
Yeah, I'm actually not familiar with Glass Mask, and they're from Wilkes-Barre, which is shame on me. But what
Next
style are they?
on the list, they're like indie pop, I believe.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's sweet.
that's what I would say. Yeah, so it should be cool. If you like indie stuff,
Love it.
this is the show.
Well, I'll call you Mike, right? I can call you Mike.
You can call me anything. You can call me whatever you want.
Telco's the stage name.
Oh yeah, definitely Telco. Call me
Yeah.
Telco. That would be.
Hey Telco, what's up?
Yeah.
But I hope that this show, right? I hope this show is like your launch pad for 2023. And I hope you take it as that, right? Like it's January 6th. This could set the tone for Telco in 2023.
Yeah.
Right? Blow the roof off, kill it, and use that as inspiration to, whenever you move to Nashville, whatever it might be, like, and maybe it's an opportunity for you to use the guys from, Modern Ties while you're still in Scranton, or maybe like a surrounding an area, whatever it might be, like
Yeah.
to, help you get, build that name, right? But use this as like the launch pad for yourself and the band for 2023, and just start asking, man.
Yeah.
Just
I
ask for the
appreciate that.
shows, because I mean,
It
I feel like there's
Go
times now,
ahead.
like people like it's one of those things. If you don't ask, um, there's no chance. You gotta shoot your shot. Um, yeah, you just gotta take the chance. Worst they can say is no.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And I appreciate how much you've done to support me and my music in the past. I mean, I can't tell you, I know I said this last time, but when you first played the song on the radio that first time, it was like that was like the first kick in the pants to just be like, oh man, this is cool to have some people who like this and support it and are willing to like play it for other people. So I can't tell you how much it means and how you've continued to support local music, and it makes a huge difference. And I do need to refocus in 2023 and just shoot the shot because I am too far in now
There's no turning back.
to, to get
I
cold
wish
feet.
I wish I could do more. I wish there's a way that I could do more, because I believe, like I said before, I believe in you, and I believe in James Barrett. I believe in Modern Ties. Like, and if you guys ever asked me for anything and I could do it, I would 100% do it. But
Or vice versa.
I think the next step for you is to just start playing out, as much as
Yeah.
possible, as much as your life allows you to, between, you know, your job and your wife and things like that. Like, I think that's going to take you to a level that, at least the next step, like where you
Yeah.
can say, okay, like I'm making progress now.
No, I agree with you.
So,
Well, you have my word. I'll do it. And then when we regroup in however long until our next one, we're gonna both be crushing it and selling a bunch of merch, and there'll be a bunch of
yeah.
nurses walking around with your face on their t-shirts.
uh, that's so funny. I wish I knew more about that woman and her daughter, just because maybe her daughter
It's out
got it and was
there.
like, "What the fuck is this?
Yeah.
What the fuck is this? What is this?
Guy on
Mom, what are you
Buffalo.
sending me?" Like,
Yeah.
this guy.
The guy who I gave a vasectomy to.
Yeah. It's such a wild story.
Please just keep doing it, man. And I
Same, dude.
appreciate everything.
Just gotta keep hustling and keep putting ourselves out there, right?
Yep. That's it. That's all you can do. It's been a good 2 years.
It has been, yeah. It's been, like I said, it's been a challenging 2 years, but it could always be worse. I mean,
Yeah.
family, health, and all those things. So, although I'll tell you what, man, being a fucking parent at this day and age, like there's no baby formula. Thankfully, my wife breastfeeds, but yeah, I can't imagine what parents go through who formula feed their babies because the shelves are bare. I don't know if you saw recently the shelves for children's and infants Tylenol and ibuprofen are also
Insane.
bare.
Jeez.
It's like, what the fuck is going on?
It's terrifying, man. It's terrifying, but at the same time, I do see like a lot of pictures of your family, and you guys look like you're living the
Dude,
life.
it's one of those things like you talked about imposter syndrome before. Like I feel like I have uh I feel that way a lot of my days.
Mm.
Like it's just one of those things where it's like I don't deserve this. I don't know what I did to, you know, get this. I don't want to ask too many questions. Like I'm a very it's cliche. I'm very blessed. Like, and I am. There's not a day that goes by that I don't know that,
Yeah,
and that I'm not thankful for that. I mean,
that's great.
yeah.
It's a good
I
place
mean,
to be.
it's a
I
great
feel
place to
that.
be.
And
It's a great place.
we can complain and we can whatever, but it's like at the end of the day, we're both incredibly lucky, and we are in the position to get to do the things that we love in free time. Whether people listen, whether people don't listen, whether we're huge, whether we sell merch, whether we don't, doesn't matter.
They will listen. 2023 is
They
the
will
year of
listen.
telco, the year of Popko,
Yeah.
all in and O's. Like, let's go. Let's go.
And then we're regrouping, and then I'm gonna pour a beer with you, and we'll do the next one in person when you've got the in-person studio because
Yeah,
you
fancy
blown up.
studio. Yeah, blown up.
Dude,
I'm like,
next one's gonna be off the charts.
yeah, I mean, it's one of those things like this is great, right? I mean, I'm thankful that we get to do this, but like there's nothing better than being face to face. So you can see each other talking. I mean, we talk over each other by accident, doing this whole over the internet thing. Yeah, I definitely want to be able to have those conversations face to face and have a studio and a place to call home. Not that this isn't my home. I mean, I'm in my home right now, but
Yeah.
you get what I mean. We'll see.
For the podcast. We'll be there, man. Next one.
January 6th, Telco, Glass Mask, James Barrett, the Scranton Cultural Center, Shopland Hall. It's a show that you should go to. It's the start of the new year. Make the right decision and go. Make this your first show of the new year. So, dude, thank you as always. Thanks for being a part of my life. Thanks for creating great music. And barring any unforeseen circumstances, I will be at the show on January 6th.
We'll push it off. Shoot me a text if the party runs long. I'll be at Diva and
It won't be long. It's I think it's like 12:30 to 2:30. It's a mid-afternoon set type of thing. So we'll do the party, the presents in the car, get home, get situated, get the car unloaded. I'll be at that show, like I said, unless something crazy happens. But
well, I'm looking forward to it. And thanks again for everything.
it'd be great to meet you in person.
I know, man.
We've never met in person.
It's very strange because I
Yeah.
feel like you're a big part of my life, and I never.
Right, same. It's like I feel like I know you. We've had in-depth conversations. We've had hours of conversations. It's
January 6th.
It's cool. January 6th is on. We'll hug.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
All right, man. I am too.
All right.
All right, thanks,
man.
buddy.
Appreciate
We'll
it.
see you later.
All right. See ya.